We're going to begin in Lebanon. Israel's Air Force has hit targets in southern Lebanon just 2 days after the countries agreed to renew their ceasefire deal. These attacks mark Israel's deepest incursion into Lebanon since the start of the war with Iran. Ahead of the strikes, Israel's military issued evacuation warnings for 9 villages. Lebanese authorities say 6 people were killed in the strikes and that hundreds were displaced. Let's bring in Bente Scheller here. She's head of the Middle East and North Africa division at the Heinrich Böll Stiftung. That's a think tank affiliated with Germany's Green Party. Bente, Israel is pressing ahead with its military offensive in Lebanon. It's determined to eliminate the threat posed by Hezbollah, but Hezbollah shows no sign of backing down. What prospects do you see for ending the spiral of violence?
Well, I'm afraid we will not see any calm coming to Lebanon because, of course, as you said, Israel is determined to advance its military offensive. And I think it is absolutely clear this is not the right way to eliminate the threat coming from Hezbollah. They have been very resilient to that. And I think we also need to take into consideration Iran's role because Iran is behind Hezbollah. So we need to bring in several actors to bring peace to Lebanon.
Israel has reached a conditional ceasefire agreement with the Lebanese government, but does that really mean anything if Hezbollah is not on board?
Well, that depends on Iran because we have seen that Hezbollah has pretty much halted all attacks on Israel between November 24 and then February. Only once the Iran war resumed, Hezbollah became active again, attacking Israel. And so I think it is not impossible, but we really need to bring in Israel, we need to bring in Lebanon as the government as well as Hezbollah. And for that, we need both the backing of Iran as well as the US.
I'm just trying to understand the role of the Lebanese government here because we keep hearing about these ceasefire negotiations. And I'm just wondering, is it too much to say that Lebanon's destiny right now is not being determined by the country's government, but by the forces you mentioned, Hezbollah, Israel, and Iran?
Well, unfortunately, I think the fate of Lebanon has long been tied to Hezbollah because other than was agreed at the end of the civil war, Hezbollah has not put down its arms. On the contrary, ever since then, it has continued to be armed and trained by Iran. So the influence of Iran is massive, and that has put the Lebanese government in a position where it is just not well posed to disarm Hezbollah. This Lebanese government is the first to say that they are ready to do so, but if they made any real attempt to do so, I think they would risk another civil war, and I'm afraid they are also ill-equipped to do so. What is happening now is quite tragic because the military offensive of Israel is undermining the legitimacy of the Lebanese government, and it is strengthening Hezbollah. If for the Lebanese population, it is not evident that peace is an option that can be reached by the undergoing negotiations between the Lebanese government and Israel, I think they will turn to Hezbollah as saying there is no way, any way to achieve through diplomatic efforts our security and safety.
So Israel wants to eliminate Hezbollah. Hezbollah is deeply linked, intertwined with Iran. Iran is in a war with the United States and with Israel. How do you see any of this getting sorted out? Because the war in Iran and what's happening in Lebanon, they seem to be so intimately connected, but I don't see negotiations going on that put it all together.
Well, things in Lebanon and Iran are definitely intertwined. And here we have an unfortunate situation because the US and Israel, who are allied on the one hand, don't have the exact same interests. For Trump, for example, now it is an absolute priority to achieve a deal with Iran because Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz is really putting pressure on the US government through the rising prices, etc. So Trump is determined to strike a deal, and Israel is afraid that this deal might not reflect its own interests, that possibly the nuclear program, which for Israel is the main issue, will not be solved. And I think also Netanyahu is convinced this can only be solved by military means, by eliminating physically the nuclear material that Iran has enriched. So therefore, I think what we are witnessing in Lebanon is that this is the card Israel is using to undermine the talks that are going on between the US and Iran. And we saw this reflected also in the discussions that Trump had with Netanyahu, which went quite off the rail. I think what we are seeing here is a conflict of interests between the United States and Israel over regional matters, and this is happening at the back of the Lebanese people.
Bente, thank you very much for your analysis. That was Bente Scheller of Germany's Heinrich-Böll-Stiftung.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Hezbollah militants are also continuing their attacks despite the renewed ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Hezbollah has rejected the deal as surrender and stated that it will continue to attack northern Israel for as long as the Israeli military continues to strike Lebanon. DW's Tanya Kramer visited the Rosh Hanikra kibbutz in northern Israel on the Lebanese border. There, they've been on the receiving end of Hezbollah attacks.
Keeping a daily routine has not been easy here in Rosh Hanikra, a kibbutz in northern Israel, right next to the demarcation line, the de facto border with Lebanon. Jonathan Cohen visits his grandmother Ziona, who just turned 96 and has lived in the kibbutz most of her life. Despite the announcement of yet another ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, people here remain skeptical.
We hear what Trump says, we hear what Bibi says, what this side and that side says. We don't know what's going to happen. And here we are today, and maybe it will start to calm down.
I don't believe there will be a real ceasefire or something like that. There isn't a real ceasefire now. Since they announced the latest one, there have been a few incidents. The noise that you hear now. When I woke up this morning, I felt like I was in a beehive. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning for work and I heard a really loud buzzing sound, louder than usual. We've been hearing that sound for over a year. We almost don't hear it anymore. We've got used to the jets, to UAVs, drones and explosions.
In recent weeks, aside from missiles and anti-tank fire, one of the main threats from Lebanese militant group Hezbollah have been small drones loaded with explosives. They're difficult to detect and have killed several Israeli soldiers. On the other side of the border in southern Lebanon, Lebanese civilians have been displaced from their devastated villages, and many were killed in Israeli airstrikes. Most Rosh Hanikra residents only returned to the kibbutz last year. They were ordered to evacuate by the government after the Hamas terror attacks on October 7, 2023, when Iran-backed Hezbollah launched attacks. When sirens or phone alerts go off, people here have only a few seconds to seek shelter.
There is a chair here, I sit here until the boom is over. And then I can get up to go outside. This is my safe room.
It's makeshift, but it's where she feels safe. For quite some time, Israelis in northern Israel have been told by their government that Hezbollah had been defeated, only to find themselves in the midst of another round of the conflict. DW first met Jonathan Cohen when he was evacuated to Haifa in 2024. This time, however, residents were told to stay put, although for Cohen, not much has changed. Rosh Hanikra residents have been living in a conflict with Lebanon for decades.
I don't think we can go any closer to the border than what we are now. I really don't believe Hezbollah will put down his weapon. To me personally, I would feel much safer if there would be a yellow zone or a kill zone, or maybe see with my own eyes from Rosh Hanikra all the way to the Golan Heights, military.
The Israeli military already occupies a large buffer zone or yellow zone in southern Lebanon. Nevertheless, the kibbutz is investing in additional bomb shelters and safe rooms. Now, after almost 3 years of conflict, people here still don't feel much safer, despite the government's promises.
In these 2 weeks, there is a forced ceasefire, that every time Trump will decide when you have a ceasefire, And last night it's going to be the end. Okay, but if it will be the end, until when? For my opinion, it's a couple of days.
Shortly before we leave Rosh Hanikra, the sound of an air raid siren from a neighboring kibbutz shatters the silence, and once again, people take shelter.